Aloha, folks! Welcome to Sonic 3D Blast. This game is actually on the Sega Genesis. What you saw earlier was the intro to the Sega Saturn version of the game, and what you're watching right now is actually the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive intro of the game. And even for the Genesis, I imagine this is actually pretty neat, pretty interesting to look at because, well, this is fucking a 16-bit console, and they actually recreated that whole 3D thing. Granted, it kinda looked like shit, but you know. Anyway, I am playing the Genesis version and not the Saturn version, but I will be showing some of the Saturn differences, so don't worry about that. So let's get into it, why not? Flickies are mysterious birds. They live in another dimension and can travel anywhere through large rings. I did not know that. Robotnik learns about the Flickies.
I will change the Flickies into robots and have them search for the Chaos Emeralds for me. Using the infinite power of the Emeralds, I can conquer the world.
Sonic visits Flicky Island to see his friends, but the only thing he finds are robots. Oh shit. Robotnik made my friends like this. I must save them. Robotnik must be stopped. Sonic starts to defeat the enemies in order to rescue the Flickies, who are trapped inside. And there's your basic overall plot of Sonic 3D Blast. The Flickies have dimensional rings which allow them to transport places. Eggman's trying to capture them and the Chaos Emeralds so that he can conquer the world. Oh my god, what a shocking development in the story. This has never been told in a Sonic game before. But what is new is definitely the gameplay style. In Sonic 3D Blast, we're playing with an isometric view, and we can't clear the level until we save every Flicky in the level, meaning we have to find all of the enemies in the level, and we have to destroy them and save the birds inside. Goody. So, there are still Chaos Emeralds in this game. You collect 50 rings, and then you have to find either Knuckles or Tails. Hey, Knuckles, how you doing? I don't know why you're not on Angel Island, but hey, how you doing? When you have 50 rings, you can go to either Knuckles or Tails, who are somewhere in the level, and when you do that, they will transport you to a special stage where you have to collect rings, pass checkpoints, and dodge spike balls in order to get the Chaos Emerald. And I must say, these special stages are actually pretty goddamn ridiculously easy, if I do say so myself. Even as a kid, I remember I didn't really have too much trouble beating these special stages because, you know, the spike balls are pretty easy to see coming. This doesn't move too fast, it's pretty easy to dodge, and I don't know, I never found a problem with these special stages. It's asking me to collect 150 rings. I have 180 right now. I think I'm well prepared to finish this special stage and get the Chaos Emerald, but I don't know. I damn near got 100 more than I needed. So that's the Chaos Emerald special stage, but that's the Genesis version, folks. If you were playing the Sega Saturn version of the game, well... oh yeah, if you're playing the Sega Saturn version of this game, you got a much better special stage. In fact, a lot of people like to say that this is probably the best special stage in all of Sonic ever. It's pretty much a recreation of the Sonic 2 kind of special stage. You know, you're in the half pipe, you're collecting rings and dodging bombs and stuff, but it's in 3D for the first time, and Sonic has a polygonal model for once. I mean, I think this game came out before Sonic R and Sonic the Fighters, so this was actually the first time Sonic's been in 3D, and it actually looks pretty kick-ass. His model looks awesome, and even when he's looking at the camera and shrugging his shoulders and stuff, it's like, oh man, Sonic looks badass. This is awesome. And yeah, a lot of people seem to love this special stage. I'm not playing the Saturn version though, so this is your only chance to see the Saturn special stage. I'm just saying that this is what the special stage is like on the Sega Saturn. You get airlifted in by Knuckles and Tails, and it's just 3D goodness. And it's a lot more exciting than the Genesis special stage, isn't it? For those wondering why I'm not playing the Saturn version of this game, it's simple. I don't have a Sega Saturn. I never had a Sega Saturn. In fact, I'm hard-pressed to find anyone who had a Sega Saturn, you know? I love that. But I'm hard-pressed to find out anyone who had a Sega Saturn from where I live in town. And again, if I had a Sega Saturn, or at least a Saturn emulator that worked, I would have tried to do Sonic 3D Blast on the Saturn, maybe. But, well, actually, no, I wouldn't have. Because here's the thing. I think the Genesis version has the far superior soundtrack. I also like the colors better in the Genesis version. People tell me the graphics are better in the Saturn version, and yeah, in some cases they are, but I kind of like the colors better in Genesis, and I like the way the stages look in the Genesis version, as opposed to the Saturn version, and that's just me. When it comes to the soundtrack, though, that was the end-all, be-all decision of why I'm not going to be playing the Saturn version. The Sega Genesis version of Sonic 3D Blast has a far superior soundtrack to the Sega Saturn version. I know some people will disagree with me on that. The Saturn version has more CD quality. It probably took a lot more effort to make kind of songs, but they're not catchy like they are in Sonic Genesis, or Sonic 3D Blast for Genesis, you know? Like, these songs on the Genesis are so memorable, and they never leave your head, and they're always in every goddamn Sonic ROM hack you've ever seen. So, I would like to think that the soundtrack is why you want to see me play the Genesis version. And, yeah. The special stages are one part of the game. The Saturn version is literally the same game, aside from, like, some graphical tweaks. I mean, the level design is the same in the Saturn version. It's still an isometric, lame sprite polygon thing going on for most of the game. The only time it actually goes into cool 3D for the Saturn is for, I guess, the FMV sequences and the special stage. So you're really not missing too much with the Saturn. I'm going to be showing the ending of the Saturn version as well. Like, I showed the intro, I showed the special stage. You saw all you needed to see with the Saturn version. I'm going to make an extra video showing off the Saturn music, but yeah, basically, that's all you're missing. But yeah, this special stage just is shit in comparison, isn't it? Ah, well, we can live with it. So again, Knuckles and Tails are in every level, so you have 2 chances to get Chaos Emeralds in every level. Of course, you need 50 rings to give to Sonic and Tails, or to Knuckles and Tails. The cool thing is, if you have like 30 rings and you run into Knuckles, you can give him 30 rings, and then come back, gather more rings, and give him like 20, and then that adds up to 50. So it's like Knuckles and Tails can actually hold on to rings for you, in case you don't feel like holding on to 50 the whole time while you're... Or in case you don't feel like holding on to 40 rings the whole time while you look for another 10, just in case you get hit and you lose your rings, you know? I do like that. What I do not care for is the whole gimmick with Sonic 3D Blast. It's got the isometric view, and the isometric view I'm just not that big on. I'm not that keen on, honestly. Sonic moves incredibly fast, enemies can pop up off-screen out of nowhere, and sometimes the enemies you're dealing with are just really obnoxious, where like you can't roll into them or you can't jump into them. There's some enemies with ball spikes surrounding them. There's some enemies which aren't even enemies at all, but rather landmines. I think it's rather dickish of them to put landmines in the first area of the game. We didn't need landmines in Green Grove Zone, goddammit. Oh, and those turrets as well. Those turrets you cannot destroy, but they shoot lasers in 4 directions, and they can actually hit the flickies, too. And yeah, you're destroying the robots so that you can save the flickies, which means you destroy a robot, you pick up the flicky that gets freed from the robot, and now they're following you until you can take them to the Dimension Ring. Problem is, if you get hit when you lose your rings and you get knocked down, all the flickies are no longer following you and they start going off in their own direction. And depending on what flicky it is, it'll either do... Well, the blue flicky will try and follow Sonic, so the blue flickies are good. Green flickies tend to go wherever the fuck they want. The red, pinkish flickies like to jump around. And I mean, they jump around, and it's really annoying. The flickies have a mind of their own, and they just tend to fly off in their own little directions. And you know, it's always annoying when you're in a level and you have like 4 or 5 flickies, and you're in a level where you're constantly getting hit. And they just keep flying all over the place every time you get hit, and it's just you have to keep picking them up every time you get hit. So what is usually just like get hit, move on, is now get hit, scramble to pick up the flickies, then move on, which always takes like 5 to 10 seconds of my time, and it's always a pain in the ass. I know a lot of people like Sonic 3D Blast, and I do not hate this game like I do a Mega Man X6 or a Sonic 06, you know? It's not a major hate. It's not like I'm going, fuck stupid Sonic 3D Blast. It's just like, it's just not my cup of tea, and I don't understand. It's like I don't like it, and I don't understand how Sonic Labyrinth got a bad rep when this game did not. Considering Sonic Labyrinth was also an isometric view, you only had to find 3 keys, not 5 flickies, and the keys didn't exactly fly all over the place when you got hit. At least not afterwards. Like they dropped from you and they landed on the spot, but the keys didn't bounce around and go in their own direction afterwards. It's like I find in Sonic 3D Blast that I'm always taking these small steps. I'm not like going full speed like I could be going. You know, I could be going faster. Like, see, shit like that. If I go too fast, I'm gonna run to a landmine that I don't see coming, and I'm gonna get hit. So I tend to, for the most of Sonic 3D Blast, to take these small, tiny pathways and then just stop, and then small, tiny, you know, movements, and then stop. Small, tiny movements, and then stop. You know, and that's not what Sonic is all about, in my opinion. I should be going fast the whole time. But I digress. Tails looks awfully retarded in this game, by the way. He just looks weird, I'm just gonna say. Like, Knuckles and Sonic look fine, but when you look at Tails, his face just looks really herpy-derpy. I don't know what to make of it. Thank God Tails was not in Sonic Blast. Well, I think he was in Sonic Blast. Maybe he was in a signpost or something, but he's not actually in Sonic Blast, which is another Game Gear game I'm going to be tackling after 3D Blast, and that game's special. That game's really special. I've actually recorded the footage for it, because I'm finishing the classic Sonic series this summer, folks. It's happening. No more green eyes. No more green eyes, no more red sweater with yellow cape. It all comes to an end, goddammit. But I digress. So yeah, fans of Sonic Adventure might recognize the music here in Green Grove Zone. In fact, a lot of music in this game is actually going to be reused in future Sonic games, which is kind of interesting. Green Grove is going to be reused for Sonic Adventure. Well, I'll point out the songs that get reused as they go on, but needless to say, if you've played Sonic Adventure and you went to a zone called Windy Valley, you're probably wondering, wait, I've heard this music before. That's because it was in Sonic 3D Blast first. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like Sonic Adventure was lazy. Sonic Adventure came up with lots of awesome, badass tracks. But I guess they wanted to bring back some tracks, and like 2 or 3 from 3D Blast are actually in Sonic Adventure. So how about that? The yellow shield I'm actually wearing right now is actually the precursor to the homing attack, and that's why I'm not really... It's not me doing precision platforming when I hit these robots, it's actually the yellow shield being awesome. Basically, you pick up a yellow shield, and if you jump and then push the jump button again, you home in on enemies, and this is going to be a characteristic that stays with Sonic for all of the modern 3D Sonic games, folks. The homing attack is going to be a big part of Sonic in the near future. So, like, and it won't be a shield feature, though. But in 3D Blast, you pick up the yellow shield, and you can homing attack enemies, which makes the platforming a lot better, because I hate isometric platforming. Anyway, every third act is an Eggman boss fight, so the third act of Green Grove has Dr. Eggman once again in his Eggmobile, trying to drop a ball spike on you, then he picks it up and drops it again. Really, Eggman? That's pretty lame. I know it's the first boss, but that's pretty lame. One different thing about all the other Genesis games and every other Eggman boss fight, you have to hit the dome. You cannot hit the bottom of the Eggmobile. If you hit the bottom of the Eggmobile, nothing's going to happen. You have to specifically hit the dome, his shield area, in order to damage Eggman. It takes a lot less hits than it does in every other game, though. It's like 6 hits, 7 hits, and Eggman is done. But anywho, folks. That was Green Grove Zone. That was part 1. I'll see you in part 2 when we go to Rusty Ruin.